Hey everybody, thank you for having me. My name is Attila Toth. I came from Hungary. This is actually my first in-person event since COVID, so I'm really excited and I'm really happy to be here. So my talk will be about data and how people in the NFT community can use data to achieve whatever they are trying to achieve. Maybe you are an artist who are trying to, create NFTs. Maybe you are someone who is developing on top of the NFT market or building some kind of a tool, or maybe you are just curious about NFTs. So before I start, so I'm a developer, so I can get like really technical, which might not be useful for some people. So I want to ask a few quick questions so I know, so I can learn a little bit about everybody here. So by show of hands, how many of you are artists or people who are creating NFTs? All right, thank you. How many of you are developers who are coding and building and trying to build something useful in the NFT world? Cool. And how many of you are just curious about NFTs and want to learn more? I guess everybody. All right, so cool. So just to provide some context, I would like to start with the fact that, so I come from a company called Timescale. We are building a time series database on top of Postgres. This is Eon, our company mascot. Very cute, as you can see. And yes, we are building a time series database, and we are very data-driven. And a couple of months ago, actually it was like more than 6 months ago now, we realized that a lot of our users are using Timescale DB, our database, to store crypto data, including blockchain data, crypto prices, and other NFT data. And so we wanted to dig deep and figure out what is it that they are doing, and then also how we could help them, whatever they are trying to achieve. But we started from this I guess phrase that we have in the company, which is all data is time series data, and by that we mean that in all areas of life and work, there is a time series aspect, and there is time series data to be recorded. And if you record the time series data, you can and analyze it. That can help you make better decisions, whatever you're doing. So in the NFT world, that could mean that you can analyze NFT prices over time. You can analyze trends over time, and data can generally help you do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so all data is time series data. And after about, I would say, 2 months of work and research, we came to realize that there's a lot of time series data in the NFT world. NFT data is time series data. And with NFTs, you probably think about like the actual assets and all the metadata that is associated with these assets, like name of the NFT, description, different traits, what collection it belongs to. But there's a lot of other kind of data out there, which are what we call time series data. And so to show some examples, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but this is basically a typical time series chart. With we are comparing two collections. One collection is in this case, the Cryptokitties collection. The other one is the CryptoPunks collection, and we are looking at the daily number of NFT transactions. And so based on this, what you can figure out is how popular a collection is over time. You can see that there was a bigger spike for Cryptokitties back in March last year. So this is just one example of time series data in the NFT world. Another quick example is, so this is a similar chart. We are comparing Cryptokitties and CryptoPunks again, but this time we are looking at the Ether volume. So instead of looking at the number of transactions, we are looking at the Ether like the amount of Ether people spend on these two collections. And what's actually interesting, this is just one example. There are like many things I could point out, but one of the interesting things is that you can see that the yellow line is much higher, which means that people spend more money on CryptoPunks, and they spend less money on Cryptokitties. But if we go back here, Cryptokitties have a higher transaction volume, which means that people buy Cryptokitties more often. So this kind of insight can be interesting if you are comparing two collections. And another example where we are looking at CryptoPunks, and we look at the mean and the median prices, which can be interesting to look at in case you're trying to figure out the distribution of the transactions, the transaction prices. So for example, here, this is between last year, February and November. And as you can see, the mean and the median were pretty close, which means that the distribution was, there were not many outliers probably. But I'm going to show you some examples with the dashboard that I brought where there were actually some outliers in the data. All right, and so let's talk about what we actually built to support the NFT community and try to help developers, but also everybody who are trying to use data to make better decisions when it comes to NFTs. And so we created the Timescale NFT Starter Kit, which basically is a collection of tools that helps people ingest data, store NFT data, time series data, mainly transactions. We're focusing on transactions because what we found is that that's the most useful way to analyze trends and how things change over time. So going deeper, how can the NFT Starter Kit help you? So first of all, we wanted to inspire people to see what data is out there, how they can use the data, what kind of insights they can get from the data. Then we also wanted to give the tools because we are still pretty early when it comes to NFTs, and there are not many tools that help you get data, especially when it comes to transactions. So we built an open source tool set which helps you collect, store, and analyze NFT transactions. It's using the OpenSea API. And we also give a complete how-to guide, which is a tutorial for those who are not really sure where to get started, or for those who don't know which component of the starter kit they want to use. So we basically walk you through the whole process from getting the data, ingesting into the database, and then analyzing it. And one of my colleagues said that this guide basically takes you from zero to NFT hero. All right, so these, just real quick, these are the components of the NFT Starter Kit. We have data ingestion. Data ingestion is probably the most technical part of this whole process, but we made a script which is open source, which pulls data from OpenSea. You can pull all the NFT transactions that happened on OpenSea, and you can store it in your own database. In case you don't want to do that, you just want to see what kind of insights you can get from data, we also provide a sample data set, which is a couple weeks worth of data of NFT transactions. We also provide a database schema, which took us a couple of weeks to figure out what's the best way to store time series NFT data. We provide the SQL queries, which basically help you translate data into actual insights. And what I'm going to demo after this is one of our pre-built dashboards. So we provide multiple different dashboards built with different visualization tools like Grafana. where you can monitor OpenSea transactions real time. You can look at historical data, and we created pre-built charts and pre-built analytics to help you get started. And as I said, we also provide a tutorial which basically goes through all these components, starting from data ingestion until pre-built dashboards. And basically, if you follow the tutorial, you will have a complete tool set to analyze NFT transactions on your computer. All right, we launched this product. Well, it's an open source product, it's free, but we launched this project back in October. We also gave away NFTs. We call them the Time Travel Tiger NFTs, featuring Eon, our mascot. Here's a screenshot of the NFTs. This is a collection of 20 NFTs with Eon in different interesting and funny outfits. As you can see, you can find it at OpenSea Time Travel Tigers. We gave it away for free for those who completed the tutorial. So the first 20 people who completed the tutorial, they got an NFT from the collection. After we launched, we were really interested how the community reacted and whether people liked it, or we didn't know if anyone would use something like this. So it was really exciting for us to see the reaction. And overall, you probably don't see this, but overall, people seem to like it. We found some interesting use cases. So some people actually used our starter kit to just load data into Python. It was a Python developer, and he loaded data into Pandas to analyze NFTs in Pandas. And I think he was trying to trade NFTs or find NFTs to buy and then sell. We also had a person from the US who is trying to build an NFT analytics platform using the Timescale NFT Starter Kit, which is really interesting. And we have a lot of other people who are really beginners, either when it comes to NFTs or when it comes to coding and programming, and they completed the tutorial. I encourage everyone who wants to do something hands-on after this conference. And if you have just a little bit of a coding knowledge, you don't need much coding knowledge. We had a lot of people who were really beginners when it comes to programming and coding, and they were able to complete the tutorial. And you can also find YouTube videos. We recorded like demos, how the starter kit looks like. And now I'm going to actually show you how this looks like. Now it's going to be risky. I will need the demo gods to support me here, but let's see if it works. Okay, so it's very sunny, so you don't see much, I suppose. But can you see this? No, not really. Anyway, so this is one of our dashboards that comes with the NFT Starter Kit. Basically, at the top, we have a bunch of what we call relational information. It's the when was the collection created, the name of the collection, slug, OpenSea URL. So, for example, right now we are analyzing CryptoPunks collection. There's a link for the CryptoPunks OpenSea page. And then basically, this is just interesting for the developers. The reason this part of the dashboard is interesting because generally it's not very straightforward how you can combine time series data like these charts. These are fueled by time series data. It's not always straightforward how you can combine the time series aspect with the sort of static relational data. This dashboard is fueled by Timescale DB, where because it's based on Postgres, it's very easy to combine the time series data with the other relational aspect of the data. And then basically here you can basically depends on what you want to do or what you want to analyze. You can look at the most expensive items that were sold in the analyzed period. Currently, we are looking at the last 30 days. There was a CryptoPunk that sold, I think, just yesterday for 450 Ether. Really, these dashboards are about finding interesting things that you then want to dig deeper. And so maybe if for some reason it's interesting for you to look into a specific transaction, this dashboard can help you do that. You can also jump to the OpenSea page right away. So you can see that the transaction actually happened 18 hours ago. And you can dig deeper. Who was the buyer? Who was the seller? What was this transaction about? In some cases, you can find weird things. Like, for example, here in the most recent trades table, there are a bunch of CryptoPunks that were sold for 0 Ether. That might be interesting for you to look into, what happened there. Yeah, so it was almost 150 Ether 7 months ago. Now it's on 0. Why that is? So this can be interesting, and you can change the. You cannot see that, but you can change the analyzed collection. Currently, in this database, we have, I think, more than 60,000 collections that we monitor. Basically, we ingest the data real time in the background using the OpenSea API. So let's see the other time series charts. Yeah, you cannot see much. All right. Okay, let me see. Is this better? Okay. So going back to our dashboard, maybe we can look at some other collection to see if we find anything interesting. So we can look at maybe Cryptokitties, which has a really high volume. So looking at Cryptokitties, it gets refreshed instantly. So here, these time series charts can be interesting. We see the volume in Ether, and we see the number of trades over time. Usually, these two are heavily correlated. As people spend more money on NFTs, it's because they buy more NFTs. Then we also have mean and median prices in Ether. For Cryptokitties, it's actually interesting because the mean price is always much higher than the median price, which means that some of the Cryptokitties NFTs are much higher priced than the average. Then we have the max price over time. At the beginning of March, there was some really expensive NFT. If you are interested in that, you can look into why that was, which NFT that was, and the way to do that, you can just simply. I'm using Grafana, by the way. You can just zoom in at a time period, and then you see the most expensive assets sold. You see that there was a Cryptokitty sold for 0.88 Ether. You can look up the transaction. It's there. Also, you can sometimes find weird things on this dashboard, I think a couple of weeks ago or days ago, I don't remember, I found a CryptoPunks NFT which was sold sold from one account to another, but it was basically the same person. So it was, I think technically it was wash trading. I'm not entirely sure. And you can find things like this by looking at the dashboard and analyzing the data. Then we also have the number of unique buyers and the number of unique sellers over time. Maybe let's look at a larger time frame. Maybe let's look at 2020, January 1st until now. And we can see how the number of buyers and the number of sellers changed over time. With this, sometimes, so for example, with this chart on the right, you can see that we have on the 20th of March, we had more than 60 unique sellers, but we had much less unique buyers, which could indicate that less people bought NFTs from more people, which can be interesting. And basically, I think basically that's all I wanted to show. Maybe one more thing. So currently we are looking at daily aggregated data. So we have one data point for each day. But within our starter kit, you can also change it to, for example, monthly data. So you will have one data point for a month, which allows you to basically zoom out. So if we go back to January 2021, so 2021, January and now. And now we can see a much larger time frame, which can help you analyze how long form or long-term trends are forming if you're looking into more long-term trends. And yeah, basically that's all I wanted to show. If I go back to my slides, so this is just one of the dashboards that we have. A Grafana dashboard can be interesting for those people who are familiar with SQL, and you can write your SQL in Grafana, and it will pull the data, and you can create any kind of charts and dashboards like this. We also provide an Apache Superset dashboard if you are not so familiar with SQL, and you can use that dashboard to just basically use a UI tool to analyze and slice and dice your NFT data. We also provide a Streamlit dashboard, which can be useful if you are more advanced with Python and you want to analyze things in Python. And we basically give you all the blueprint on a GitHub repo. If you just Google Timescale NFT Starter Kit, you can clone the repo and you can see how it works. So basically, that was my presentation. Feel free to reach out to me after the talk or after the conference. You can also find my email and Twitter. We also have a Slack community slack.timescale.com, where you can find other people who are trying to work with NFT data using Timescale DB. And even though you probably can't see this, but we have a lot of content that we created for mainly developers, but also for people who are trying to understand the NFT market from a data-driven perspective. You can go to timescale.com/crypto to see our resources related to the crypto space and the NFT space as well. And that was me. I hope it was interesting. One more thing I wanted to ask. So as I said, this is my first conference since COVID. And I would like to take a selfie with all of you, if that's okay. And please pretend that the presentation was good. I would appreciate that. Okay, is that fine? Thank you.